Greetings, friends, and welcome to this edition of Stories of Cat Catastrophes, a video series where I scour the internet, my own personal experiences, to bring you stories of cats usually behaving badly, and illustrate them for your listening and viewing pleasure. All of this to promote my new book, Sometimes Kitties, a picture book written to delight the young and never get old. I'll be kickstarting the print edition of this book soon, and the only way to know when it kickstarts is to join my mailing list. Details in the description below. Thank you so much. Our first story comes from Kimberly. Kimberly writes, "We call my mom's cat Sammy the Spinach Bandit. My mom had a rack she kept of seedlings. Starting in February, she started planting vegetable seeds, and then kept them under grow lights on racks in the dining room. About a month in, she remarked that her spinach wasn't doing well. We kept an eye on them, and tried to revive them with a spray bottle. Then we saw it. One night, we all sat down to dinner, and we saw Sammy climbing the racks and eating my mother's spinach. On closer inspection, we realized he'd been sampling other vegetables, but he decided he liked the spinach best. There were little nibbles in the kale and the radishes, the peas, the cabbage, but all he ate was the spinach. Nothing my mom did could keep his furry face out of these seedlings. She tried netting, he tore through it. She tried eliminating the spinach, he went for the kale. Eventually, we rigged everything with hinges, metal screens and frames, and locking latches. It took 4 days and about $500 to keep him out of the seedlings. The little twit." Why do we have these animals? We want a tiny little furry inconvenience in our house. That's a living inconvenience in our house that likes us, kind of. What are we doing? What are we doing? My cats like me more than kind of. That's what we're doing. Okay. The next story is from Ellie. Ellie writes, "My cat's name is Lucky. He is my boss. I answer only to him. The rest of the family, husband and 3 daughters, answer to me, as they do not exist to Lucky, except the youngest daughter. He puts up with her. He sleeps on my side of the bed, always within reach of my hand for petting. My husband and I go to bed, and just as we are falling asleep, Lucky will come into the room, walk to the furthest side of the bed, jump up on the pillow, walk over my husband's head, treading on his eyes and nose or mouth, and come to my side of the bed and settle down so I can pet him to sleep. This happens every night without fail. He always times it, as we are just on the cusp of sleep. My husband has tried to stay awake to be ready for Lucky, but somehow Lucky can sense when we are at the point of being fully asleep. We have even tried to swap sides, but Lucky knows. Lucky always knows." This next story is from Victoria, and this is the one that I have been illustrating the whole time, so strap in, and I hope it was worth the wait. Victoria writes, "I really hope I don't get any backlash for this answer. I did everything in my power to fix the situation. I spent years trying. My not-so-wonderful ex stuck me with his cat, Biscuit, when he broke up with me. He was leaving the state and wouldn't be taking him. I didn't want him to go to a shelter, so I ended up with him. I love cats. I always have. But this was no ordinary cat. There was something inherently wrong with him. Biscuit was an a-hole of the highest caliber. He was a voracious eater. Always. Nothing could fix him. The vet said he was fine, and that it must be psychological. Next vet said the same. I tried clicker training him, no go. I tried food he didn't like, no such thing. I tried food puzzle bottles, no go. I tried an automatic feeder every 2 hours. He dismantled it in 1. If you left anything, even remotely resembling food out, he would eat it. He once ate the mushy, disgusting stuff in the sink drain I forgot to get out after doing the dishes. Oh, gross. He practically lived on the kitchen counters, and nothing would keep him from his next meal. When I moved in with the man who is now my husband, Biscuit came with. In addition, I brought my dog, 5-year-old Sasha, and we rescued a puppy, itty-bitty Coda. We also ended up with 2 leopard geckos, Daisy and Buck. Biscuit became a tyrant in our house. If you looked away, he would steal food from your plate. He would scour the kitchen counter for any single shred of something edible. If you tried to put him in another room, he yowled. We thought he would eventually give up, but the yowling, he did not stop. Hours and hours of yowling, non-stop. Put him outside while you eat? Nope. He'll sit and yowl at the window, then run to any other window he can see you through and yowl some more. I honestly grew to hate him. Yes, he had his super sweet, snuggly moments, but they were so few and far between, it was painful to even be around him. My poor husband never even wanted a cat. He just got stuck with my ex's a-hole cat. I can relate. The final straw for us was when we had to go out of town for 24 hours, a bit less. I made sure there was nothing edible for him left out and put, no lie, 4 days worth of food into his puzzle bottle that he had to push around in order to get the food. When we returned home in less than 24 hours, I couldn't believe my eyes. Biscuit had eaten all 4 days worth of food. He then ate a stick of butter I'd forgotten about. He then managed to open a cabinet, a tall upper one, and eat a package of pita bread. It was full, about 6 large pitas. Then he bit through a package of sunflower seeds in the shells and managed to eat 200 of them. How do I know he ate 200 of them? Because he apparently ran around the house throwing them up in little piles. Gracious. I assume he ate some, threw up, and then went and ate more, like 20 times. To top it all off, the real kicker. He pried the top off the gecko container, and he ate Buck. Know what he did then? He threw him up almost whole. I found poor traumatized Daisy under a baseboard heater, wounded and sans tail. Never found that tail. Obviously, he ate that too. This is the most a-hole thing my cat has ever done. I love cats, but I hated this cat. Afterwards, I cleaned up the vomit, blood, butter, crumbs, and general carnage in my house and posted an ad that literally said, "Please, dear God, someone take this a-hole cat!" I found him a loving home with someone else who had no other pets for him to eat and had plenty of time and patience. Lord knows that wasn't me. R.I.P. Buck. You are missed, little guy. And that is the end of today's edition of Stories of Cat Catastrophes. That is, I think that's the roughest one I've read so far. That's the that's get a new cat, and yeah, she got a new cat. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this illustration and you like the stories, then please consider kickstarting my new book, Sometimes Kitties, by joining my mailing list, details in the description. If you want the original art for today's episode, it'll be for sale on my website, coffeeandhate.biz. I know that this is not strictly speaking what a leopard gecko looks like. The head is not quite tall enough. That beak is a little too rounded, and it's got these skin folds around its neck that most of those geckos don't really have, but I thought that changing the shapes would add a little bit more to the anxiety of the creature. So even if you're not interested in the original art, in the description, let me know if it worked or if the inaccuracy just drives you nuts. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Give your furry loved one some extra scritches for me, and I'll see you at the next one.